And now to talk about our module of the week, let's turn it over to Martin Anderson-Klutz, a senior solutions engineer at Acquia and a maintainer of a number of Drupal modules of his own. Martin, what do you have for us this week?
Thanks, Nick. Have you ever wanted to have one or more fallbacks within your Drupal tokens? There's a module for that. It's called Token Or, and it was created in May of 2018 by Daniel Beek of the Netherlands. It has a 2.3.0 version available, which supports Drupal 9, 10, and 11. It does have security and test coverage, and there are 8 open issues, 3 of which are bugs against the current branch, which is pretty good considering it's in use by 2,369 sites, according to Drupal.org. Now, after installing this module, your tokens can contain pipe-separated values, including a quote-enclosed literal string, and the token will return the first token or string that is not empty. This allows your tokens to have fallback values. For example, you could have a token grab an event start date or show TBD if the field is empty. The project page doesn't explicitly say that a single token can have more than 2 reference or string values, but it seems implied. If true, that would mean you could define a token that would grab a value from one field, look in a different field if the first one is empty, and return a literal string if neither field has a value. Because Token Or uses pipe characters to delineate between values, the module currently doesn't support pipe characters within string values. This is one of the open issues, but there is a patch available. Previous guest host Josh Mitchell mentioned that he had never heard of this module until he noticed it is in the code base for Drupal CMS. So I thought it would be ideal to talk about this on this show as an example of some lesser known best practices that you'll get out of the box when you start building sites on Drupal CMS. So let's talk about Token Or.
This sounds like it will replace a lot of custom code, a lot of websites when people start to learn about it, because I know I've certainly done similar things with custom tokens, but just on the printing side, like, doing some custom logic. So yeah, I'll definitely be looking at this myself.
So anybody else, I looked at this and I was like, token OR. I'm like, operating room? Are we like operating on tokens? But that was just me being goofy, clearly. Martin, like where are we seeing kind of like a use case for this? Is it like, I don't know, in views and stuff like that, where you're like, hey, look at this token, and then, or you could look at this token, and like, how does that kind of like, I'm trying to like wrap my head around how we might see this in the wild.
So views is definitely potentially a use case. I could definitely also see this being really useful in meta tags, where there's potentially, multiple source fields that you want to use, but find the one that has a value. Also, as a longtime Acquian, I use Acquia Site Studio quite a bit, which also relies heavily on tokens. So the same kind of ability to be able to potentially draw on multiple sources and even have kind of a literal string fallback is something that'll be really useful, as part of that solution as well.
Are you clear on whether it like, so if you have 4 things in a list, right? Token 1 or token 2 or token 3 or token 4, right? Does it go through the list until it gets to a value and then just stop?
Yeah, the first one that doesn't return empty is what it will return for the token.
Got it. Okay.
I don't want to build this, but I feel like this in combination with something that I don't think is written yet would actually solve a really common use case for meta tags in current Drupal sites. And that is they want clients want meta tag to automatically be filled out, but they're using paragraphs for the content. And there's not an easy way to just say, hey, just find the first text component paragraph or like the first text field in the components on this page and use that as an example. And if there was a way to create some sort of token that kind of just jumped through and found that value and use the or to kind of return that, that might be pretty helpful too. But
it feels like a whole separate module, like paragraphs token or paragraphs token selector or something. I don't know.
Or maybe token paragraphs iterator or something like that. But yeah.
Or maybe you won't even be using paragraphs in the near future, and you'll just use Experience Builder, and
Hot
there'll be
take.
a module for that.
Blasphemy.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, it should be extensible to that use case too, Matthew. Right? So, because the idea behind layout builder and experience builder and components are similar, right? It's composable content that you don't really 100% know the structure of when somebody's building the page. And so some way to kind of take that information in would be great. Yeah.
Now we're just going to call it first content item token. That's going to be the module name. Whatever your content is, however you lay it out. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this module is super useful, and I think you're right, Nick. It's going to reduce a lot of that kind of weird setup custom code that you might have to do in views to say like, well, look at this value, or look at this value, or look at this other value, because we need to figure out how to display something. So
I'd actually say like views and tokens is unusually good because it has the ability to rewrite, and then if empty, then rewrite this. Like, so there's a lot of conditionals kind of built already into it, which I often find myself wishing were in other parts of Drupal. Like when I'm in the Fields UI, or I'm using Display Suite, or if I'm using paragraphs, or if I'm using Layout Builder, I'm like, man, why don't I just have that thing that's in views where I can click that and edit it and make it absolute, or put a token in, or see what the tokens are that came before it, or hide it only if it's empty. So I can imagine using it in views, but I almost see it as taking some of that views functionality and moving it somewhere else. And just generally, I wish that we had all of the power of views rewriting a given field in any place we show a field.
oh man, that's real big picture thinking right there.
It shouldn't be that hard.
I like it, and it scares me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like I mean, I keep going back to this, but I feel like this is one of the things that's really powerful about Drupal CMS is, aside from all the work that went into it, it's just the kind of meeting of the minds that happened, it feels like it hasn't happened in a while, and just being able to kind of look at it, and not every piece of it, if you're building a site from scratch still rather than using it as a base, not every piece of it is necessary for you, but it's a really good way to discover modules that other agencies are using, and move things forward. Like the amount of work that's gone into, I forget the name of it. Is it Clavio, the cookie setting one, or the privacy cookie module? I know that there's been a lot of work done to try to get it ready for all the different markets just because of Drupal CMS. So yeah, this is another one that I learned about. Same reason, same as you, Martin, when Joshua posted about it.
Claro with a K is the cookie consent manager you were talking about.
Claro. Okay.
Oh, that's not confusing at all.
As long as you always say Claro with a K, it's fine.
Some marketer right now is like rolling over in their, marketing cube. But anyway.
Thank you, Martin, as always, an on-topic module of the week. And if listeners want to get in touch with you and make a suggestion for module of the week in the future, what's the best way for them to do that?
We are always happy to talk about interesting projects in the Talking Drupal channel of Drupal Slack, or folks can reach out to me directly as ManClue on all of the Drupal and social platforms.
See you next week.
See you then.